I'm Kirk Hamilton.
I'm Maddy Myers.
And I'm Jason Schreier.
And I don't know about everybody out there, but I feel like it's time to talk about video games. Welcome to Triple Click, where we bring the games to you. This week on the show, we're talking about all the ingrained video game knowledge we take for granted, but the new players might not have. We also talk Kentucky Route Zero, Final Fantasy VII padding, and the Resident Evil 3 remake. Maddy, Jason, it's been a long time coming, and here we are. We're making a new show.
We did it.
We are. It's a brand new day. Oh my God.
Holy cow, here we are doing kind of the same thing.
Totally new location.
Yeah. We're in a new recording studio. You know,
I know,
we got
it's
all this.
brand new. I'm in a completely different gamer chair than the gamer chair I normally sit in.
She's lying. Maddie's lying. Maddie's in the same gamer chair as
same
always.
Gamer
We're
chair,
all in the
same
same
little
places.
headrest. It's so comfy.
You will be listening to the same people, same dumb jokes, new podcast feed.
That's true.
Brand new title. Welcome to Triple Click.
How do you know the jokes are going to be dumb? They might be totally good now.
Well, they'll be dumb in a good way.
I've been working on my jokes, so I've got my gamer joke book here. I'm ready to go.
Have you? You've been hitting the open mic scene? You've been performing in the Comedy Cellar?
Yeah, getting my tight 10 together. It's
Nice.
a pretty exciting time for me and video game jokes.
Triple Click. Triple Click. Triple Click.
Triple Click.
So we should tell everybody that. So for those of you who are new listeners, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for giving us a chance. For those of us who are coming over from the world of Kotaku Split Screen, you should know that we're trying some new things this time. We are going to try some experiments, try some experimental formats, do some cool new things that the three of us are all really, really excited about.
Yes, we are very psyched about it. It's going to be maybe a little bit more focused of a show.
That's our promise. More focus.
More
but
focus?
all the same personal jokes from Kotaku Split Screen, which we refuse to let
Same
die.
unfocused jokes. More focused show, unfocused jokes.
Yep.
It's a good way of looking at it. So before we get started, thank you so much to everybody who responded to the announcement of the show. It was very exciting. It was cool to hear from so many people who are excited that we're doing something new. And I don't know, that just felt really good. So thanks to all of you who are out there listening.
Thank you. Everybody.
Yeah, that was cool. And also a special thanks to people at Maximum Fun who have been super great as we've been putting this show together. It was a lot of work getting this launch off the ground, and a lot of people helped with that. In particular, thanks to Bikram Chatterjee, Laura Swisher, Daniel Barwella, and everybody else at Max Fun. And a special shout out to Tom DJ, who made our killer show art. It's so good. Thanks, Tom.
It looks awesome.
Extremely good. And thanks to Kirk for making our killer intro music.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure. Cheers.
So, yeah, some people have already started asking us, how can we support the show? And that is awesome to hear. I love to hear when people are like, oh, how can we support you?
By all means, support the show.
Two big ways of supporting the show. One is you can become a Max Fun member, which is basically some of you already are. If you're not, you go to maximumfun.org/join and you pick a tier, and then you can select Triple Click as one of the shows you listen to. You just check it on your little list of shows, and you'll be supporting us. And in addition to knowing, like, having that beautiful feeling inside, that warm feeling that you are supporting your favorite podcast,
So generous.
you will also get bonus episodes. We have some cool things planned that we will talk about down the line, and other Max Fun bonus stuff. So you get a lot of cool stuff. But the other way of supporting the show, and this is way more important right now for us as just kind of like a brand new podcast starting out, go tell your friends, share the podcast on social media, and just tell people, get us the word out, post it on your favorite message boards and internet social network websites,
Internet social networks.
Internet social networks.
Definitely those.
We also have some of those ourselves, by the way.
do.
We're Triple Click Pod on Twitter. And so you can follow us on social media internet if you want to. But
You
just
sure
as
can.
an additional thing, we have a brand new email address, which is tripleclick@maximumfun.org. And you should definitely email us, because in this, our pilot episode, we are actually doing a topic inspired by an email from a listener. So that's how you make the magic happen, folks. You send us an email.
Talk about a segue. Well, let's get into our main segment for this episode. So, on this episode, we are going to be talking about our gaming assumptions. And the reason for that is we are living in a pretty weird time where a lot of people are trapped at home, and a lot of people are playing video games that maybe didn't play video games before. And also a lot of people who do play video games are maybe playing video games with their partners, their roommates.
Or trying some new games they've never tried before, branching out, trying those new genres that they've never tried and realizing they don't know what the heck they're doing.
Yes, we have a lot of downtime.
I am describing myself.
We have a lot of downtime, and it's caused a lot of us to sort of question some of our gaming assumptions, some of the ingrained knowledge that we have from playing a lot of video games. And because the three of us have played so many video games, we thought that might be a fun thing to talk about. So we have an email here that we want to kind of use as a prompt. Maddy, how about you read this email?
Sure. So this email is from Thorkild, who writes, "Hey, me and my girlfriend are, as many others, spending an awful amount of time at home in front of the TV these days. She is not much of a gamer, but after watching hours and hours of horrible TV shows, she finally agreed trying some of my favorite games on my PS4. While guiding her through, I noticed that she lacks what I will refer to as basic gaming knowledge. Like in Crash Bandicoot, I go, of course you can't stand on top of a meat-eating plant forever because it will eventually snap and eat you. In Uncharted, I yell at her, you obviously have to shoot down the rockets that the helicopter is firing at you before hitting the helicopter. These are things that I feel are basic knowledge, but her playing made me realize how stupid some of them actually are. Have you got your own examples of these basic gaming knowledges that come naturally to you, but are in reality pretty stupid when you think about them?" Yes. Because I played any game at all. Yes, I have millions of these. And they're all normal, actually.
I love the example of shooting the rockets from the helicopter, because that is such a video games thing. It's like, well, yeah, if a helicopter was shooting rockets at me, I mean, I would shoot the rockets out of the air with my pistol first.
Yeah, of course.
I would shoot the helicopter.
But also, you do know that the helicopter isn't going to stop shooting rockets at you until you shoot the helicopter. I feel like the JRPG version of this is like the boss that's spawning minions at you. You have to kill the boss, but anyway, I'm playing Persona 5. Who can tell? Me.
My wife, I remember the first time she played a 2D Mario game, she was walking, and most people who have played Mario know to like hold Y to run while they play. In fact, Kirk, I think you might have had this problem too. And I get so frustrated watching someone play 2D Mario games when they're not running the whole time. They're not just holding Y or B or whatever it is to run the whole time, because that's how you're supposed to play. You're not supposed to just like plod.
I mean, you can walk. You can just appreciate the fine scenery of...
The problem with Mario is that there's a timer.
There's a timer for a reason.
I do remember that. I think when you and I were streaming, and it's not something I think of naturally in a side scroller, is that you want to run, but that is definitely an ingrained Mario thing. I have an ingrained Mario thing as well. And that's that you always go left at the beginning of the level. I feel like that's such an ingrained thing.
No, you always go right.
I feel like that's an ingrained Metroid lesson. Because if you go left at the beginning, that means you're going to go get an upgrade, because Samus nearly always can find some secret thing if you go left instead of right. But that's not always a Mario thing. Do you always go left at the beginning of a Mario?
No, Mario, you always go right. You don't go left in Mario.
Yeah, what?
I know that the level goes right.
What is direction?
The first thing that you do when you start playing a side-scrolling game is see if you can go left. Because if you can go left, there will be something over there.
Are you talking about Mario's left? I think I'm getting it now. Like, he's turning left and you're going left.
Right.
What?
Whereas in my mind, he's going to the
Kirk
right.
is saying that sometimes there's a secret if you go to the left, or like you see like in Donkey Kong Country, if you go to the left and jump on his house, you'll get an extra life.
Exactly. Same thing. And in fact, that's a very good example. I remember playing Donkey Kong Country and being like, oh, I found a secret over there, because of course I just naturally thought, well, I know the level is telling me to go right, but I'm going to go left.
But you're going to try going the alternate path. Right. I mean, that's true in a lot of games.
Well, so that's a very experienced video game player thing, is to like inherently want to break the game and not play by the rules. The most immediate thing that comes to mind, and I think something that I'm sure many of our listeners are struggling with, or have partners or roommates who are struggling with, is the dual joystick thing, because that is the biggest hiccup that all new gamers have, is knowing that one joystick controls the camera and the other joystick controls your movement, and trying to master using them both at once. It takes a lot of skill that like you really need to have spent hours mastering. Muscle memory, I should say.
I don't think it's skill. I think it's just a learning curve. Like, I think anyone can learn how to do it. It's just that you have to force your brain to learn how to do it. And a lot of people, like, if you don't know how to play a game with a controller, then just that initial learning curve is a hurdle. And I can see why it sucked to have to learn how to do that. I went from playing Counter-Strike to having to learn how to play Halo as a teenager, and it was not pleasant. And now I get it, but...
So I came up as a PC gamer and had the same experience with... It was specifically Halo, because I was like, okay, finally, there's a worthwhile first-person shooter on consoles that I'm going to play.
Did you think it was? Did you find it worthwhile?
I did. Well, I played through it with a friend, and we had a good time. It was fun to play a split-screen co-op game in that way, which I hadn't done a lot of on PC. My thing with the thumbstick, and I think that's definitely like a huge hurdle for a lot of people, it's partly that the thumbstick isn't a one-to-one like representation of the movement the way that a mouse is. So when you move a mouse, if you imagine this, you're playing a first-person shooter, that your head moves exactly as much as the mouse moves, and when you get to the edge of the mouse pad, your head stops moving and you have to move your mouse over again. This is why elite pro gamers play with mouse pads that are like the size of a tablecloth.
Yes, and they use their entire forearm sweeping across the tablecloth every time they move.
Because it gives them that fine degree of control.
Or you're Geggery in Overwatch League and you have your sensitivity turned way up and you're barely moving it at all. There are two forms of pro gamer, and those are they. Continue.
Some people play with a high sensitivity. But basically, you want to move the mouse and it moves one-to-one with your head. And you have to pick the mouse back up and move it back to the middle of the mouse pad. With a thumbstick, you just move the thumbstick to the right, to the edge of the, like, whatever the axis of the thumbstick, and then your head just keeps going, which is weird and a really significant difference that I never think about. I think it was like an old episode of Idle Thumbs or something. They started talking about this, and I'd never thought about the concept before. And it kind of blew my mind because it was so natural to me. I was like, oh yeah, like thumbsticks are just different. But when I was learning, coming from being a PC gamer, it definitely was something that just sometimes made me nauseous. I think that's part of why people get nauseous playing with a controller, because you're just holding down a button and it's moving on its own instead of like you're physically in control of it. So I think that's part of the challenge.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't know you can invert the axes as well. Like, I'm one of those weirdos who likes to invert the y-axis every time I play.
You're not weird, you're normal. You and I are normal. See, look, 2 out of 3 of us are inverters. That means we're the majority.
You both disgust me.
It has something to do with how you interpret how your own head moves, though, Jason. It has to do with whether you picture the axis of the joystick being on the back of your head to like look up, which is how I picture it, or the front of your head. And that analogy is great for podcasting because I'm using my finger to point to the front and back of my head, and it's not helping at all. But
wait, is that actual thing? I've never heard this before.
Yes, it is. I will send you the documentation about this. It is a thing.
Maddie's done the reading.
There are studies and there are people.
I gotta do my reading on inverted controls.
Yeah, there are people who have a brain, like my brain, where using inverted controls is the way that it makes logical sense to them. And there are people who have your brain, Jason, which is wrong. But those people also exist.
The less good brain.
Yeah, well, so based on this conversation, I guess I can only assume that people who have normal brains are just smarter than people who have inverted brains.
I do object to it being normal and inverted. Like, you're weird if you invert.
But they don't. You do have to change the setting every time. Like, games do think I'm weird for doing this. They've chosen.
I feel oppressed.
Between this and being left-handed, I'm just...
You're just
life
hosed.
is so hard.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I often have to revert the settings whenever I play a game that Steven Totillo has just played because he fiddles with the controls and makes it all inverted.
Because he plays correctly. Our friend Steven Totillo also inverts controls.
The way I imagine this is a helpful thing that someone used to describe it, is the Valve man. If you've played a Valve game, those games begin with this large bald man with a valve on the back of his head, what is it, like a faucet.
He's like the equivalent of the lion that roars before a movie, but for Valve.
So he has like a faucet valve on the back of his head.
That's the joystick, his faucet
Well,
thing?
and so you have to think of it as, for starters, playing the new VR game, he is there and the game starts and you're standing in front of him and he's gigantic. This is Half-Life Alyx, the VR game.
In Half-Life Alyx?
Yes.
Wait, you can walk up to that guy?
No, you can't move. You can't move, but it starts in VR and he's there, and then he starts turning his head toward you right as it fades away, and it's really scary.
Oh, I don't like that.
Okay, but the way to think of it, and someone described it to me, I thought this was helpful, is that, like you said, Maddie, if you play inverted, you're holding onto the valve on the back of that guy's head and turning his head up and down to make him look. It's also how like a camera dolly works? Is it a dolly?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the weird visual language of video games that I think those of us who have grown up and like have played games for decades just kind of inherently know, but new players might not. So stuff like, and you guys have mentioned a few things in this list we prepared, but like things that like being able to tell whether a crack in a wall is meaningful or whether a door can be opened or whether a box can be broken, or even just like inherent rules that you learn in like a Mario game, like a star turns you invincible, which I think most people know at this point, but even that is just silly, right? Like a mushroom makes you stronger. Food gives you health in games. Turkey legs in Castlevania.
Like you always want to look in the trash for food because that gives you health.
In BioShock Infinite, you go around hunting.
You always want to look in a toilet for items?
Always look in the toilet.
Yeah, well, so much of this stuff is so silly, but it also is just so much of like what we've accepted as part of games. And then some of it is clever. There's some really clever stuff the designers have learned to do, like ways to draw the player's eye to something and get them to be curious about something and go find for something, or like hint at something. There's a scene in Final Fantasy VII in Aerith's church, and you see a materia in one of the cutscenes, and it's just tempting you because you can't actually go back to the church and get it. Like it's as you leave, you see it like glimming there, and it gets stuck in your head the entire time, and you're like, oh, I got to go back at some point and get that materia, and then finally you have the chance later to do it.
That's true. That's like a Dark Souls thing too. Like and you have to know that. If you don't know that this is a thing, you might see that and think, oh, well, surely I can get to that. And that still is a problem for me sometimes in games where I think, am I supposed to be able to get this or not?
Yeah.
But it is a specific thing where you just know, okay, I'm not supposed to get that. The game is just showing me it so that I have to come back and get it later. There's also, you're talking about clever things that developers are doing and how some of these literacies are us getting used to the ways that game developers are like cleverly doing various things. A lot of what they're doing is hiding limitations and creating a world that feels bigger than it is. And I've heard so many stories of people who will be playing Grand Theft Auto, like GTA 5 or something. They'll give the controller to someone who doesn't play a lot of games, and the person will like walk up to the first house and think, well, why can't I go into this house? And it's because 95% of the houses in Grand Theft Auto 5 look real, but they're just totally, fake houses. One funny rule on that actually Half-Life Alyx makes me think of, but a lot of games have this, is if there's a knob on the door, you can open it. But if there's no knob, if it's like a flat texture on the door, you can't. And you just kind of learn that. And in that game, you'll be looking around, there's 10 doors and one has a knob. You're like, okay, well, clearly I'm supposed to go through that one. But why? Like, you only know that because you've played video games for however many years.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It might be something that you can kind of pick up with basic pattern recognition at a certain point. But yeah, and by the way, total side note, I think that like one of the things we'll be able to see with next gen games, like once they have SSDs on the consoles, is houses that you can actually go inside without
more
loading
doorknobs.
times and like
way higher textures on those doorknobs.
And all the doorknobs, knobs on every door.
Yeah, way prettier doorknobs. So I'm curious to hear, and Maddy, why don't you start? What are like some rules, some like visual design rules or like game rules that you would tell someone? Like, what do you tell your girlfriend when she's playing a game that she like has to understand as part of like the language of a game?
Yeah, she's been getting way into games now, and I'm trying to act like that's cool and normal and not like I'm really excited that under quarantine she's getting way into video
secretly
games.
You're like, yes!
Yeah, so like she's playing a bunch of PC games because she doesn't know how to use a controller and is very intimidated by learning, which I think many people are because they're kind of terrible and make no sense, and it's just like a dumb skill you teach your brain how to do. So I feel like PC games, there's a lower learning curve for that. But so she didn't know that you can use WASD in order to move around in games because it's become so ingrained in PC games that they no longer tell you that. There's still games out there that are like, you boot up the game for the first time and it tells you that you can use WASD or WASD, as I say.
Of course, because you're a true PC gamer.
I am a true PC gamer. So she was playing this game Figment, which is like a platformer game. It's really cool art style, indie game, I think. And she's using the arrow keys to move, but you can use Q and E in that game to like do various other things because those keys are right next to WASD. And she's like, the controls for this game are really stupid. Like, look at all this absurd stuff I'm doing. Like, I have to like move my hand all the way over here to do this. And I was like, well, so it turns out that you could be using W, A, S, and D to move around, and then you only really need the one hand to control the game. But why would she know that?
No,
like,
right.
Why on earth would those be the keys?
Oh man,
it doesn't make any sense.
I would give someone a controller for their first PC gaming stuff.
I mean,
not
I guess, but
it's such a function of the way that these things have evolved. All these things we're talking about are, but definitely PC controls, because the mouse and keyboard were like not designed for playing video games specifically.
They're really not.
And so you're using them in this way. Yeah.
They're really not. And like using WASD isn't that comfortable, honestly. Like it's fine.
No, it's not great. That's why, I just use a DualShock on my PC whenever I'm playing games on there.
Yeah, because you don't care about winning multiplayer games.
Well, if I'm playing like StarCraft too, I'll use a mouse and keyboard. But for most of like the action games and anything, Kirk had a good rule of thumb.
When you play Destiny, are you using a controller?
I sure am.
That game has good control. It's defense.
Yeah, Destiny is really good.
It has good. It's way better with a mouse and keyboard.
That's because I spent 3 years playing it on PS4 before I switched to PC. Yeah. So I would never be able to switch to anything else for Destiny. Like my muscle memory, I spent hundreds of hours playing with PS4 controls for that game. But Kirk has a good rule of thumb for PC gaming, which is mouse and keyboard for first person, controller for third person.
Right.
And I think that's the best way to go. But with a new player, like if I gave the controller to my wife, or if I had her play something on the PC, I would definitely give her a controller. I don't think she would. I think the PC keyboard is overwhelming.
Yeah, I feel like the counterpoint here is that the other game she's playing is Gone Home, which she has just immediately understood, because that is a game where you actually can click on everything that you would want to be able to click on and walk around this world. Like it almost feels like a game that's designed for the person who plays Half-Life Alyx and is like, why can't I open this door? Or is like trying to break Grand Theft Auto.
So I'm curious about that. I'm curious if there's anything that like you would think that she would pick up on based on what you know about games in something like Gone Home that she hasn't picked up on. Like, has she not realized that like everything that glows is something you can interact with or something like that?
She's figured that out, but she's definitely like, God, let's talk about my girlfriend for 6 hours, guys. Okay.
Sure.
Let's psychoanalyze her. So like she definitely is just going through Gone Home and having all the wonderful experiences that everyone has, where you know how you turn on every single light in the house in order to remember which room you were in, and then you get to the bulletin board that has the note on it that says stop leaving lights on, and she excitedly turns to me and she's like, I've been leaving the lights on. What a crazy coincidence. And I'm like, yes, like that is a crazy coincidence, but it is also a crazy coincidence for which the game was designed.
Is it a coincidence?
I kind of it's like that's just what the game knows.
That's how they get you.
Do.
Right, exactly.
But it doesn't make it any less magical. And it's like it's very endearing to me that she finds it magical, because I'm a condescending asshole. Let's talk about something I'm bad at, or that Kirk is bad at, because we also have these problems too when we play games.
Kirk, I'm curious about the rules that you would want to tell someone who's new into gaming, who just entered the quarantine gaming world.
Yeah.
Well, so Emily has been playing Animal Crossing, and she's picked it up pretty fast. That's actually given me an appreciation for how approachable Animal Crossing is as a game. Like, there are definitely parts...
Is it, though? Because I don't understand anything in that game.
Because there's kind of like the high level of Animal Crossing and the low level of it. Once you understand that there's basically just one button to do stuff with any of your tools, once you know which buttons to press to get things, it's actually pretty easy to figure out where to go. The things that have required explanation are usually like the things I have to Google. All the min-maxing shit, the fact that there's this...
if you want to do that.
Well, right, and like to say, well, okay, if we really want to make money, don't sell your insects to the store. You want to save them all, because there's going to be this person who will show up at some point and will pay more for them.
Which, how would you know that unless you saw it online? If you saw people talking about that little dragon guy.
But that's the thing you would know if you played a lot of Animal Crossing. And there's a lot of that stuff where I see the Able sisters. I'm like, oh, it's Mabel. She's going to open a clothing store at some point. Like, oh, I know that they're going to eventually upgrade the tent and turn it into a big building. Those are all things that you know.
Well, but that's not video game like visual language. That's just like, oh, I know what the series has done before.
But if you don't.
No, but it's also
like you're watching a movie and like you've seen the previous movies, and so you know what the characters are. No, I don't think it's quite the same as like rules that we inherently know about video games. Like if something is like, if someone has an exclamation point over their head, that means you can talk to them and they'll give you a quest, like that sort of thing.
No, but I think that it is. I think it is, because we're talking about like a game that you start and there's almost nothing and you're in a big empty space, and it's a game about building stuff. And you know, just having played video games, when you start there, you're like, all of this is temporary. I'm going to be able to undo everything. Animal Crossing actually does a good job of telling you at a few points, don't worry too much about this choice you're you're making, like where you're putting your house, you'll be able to move it later. But it doesn't always tell you. And I think if you don't innately know that a game like this is just going to let you move stuff, you'll be like, oh, I really need to be careful about this. And maybe even kind of feel a lot of anxiety. Where do I put my thing? What do I do? The more of those games you've played, the more you know, oh, none of this is permanent. This is just the first few hours. This is all going to change. And I think that is a kind of a like built-in gaming knowledge that we all get.
Yeah, I guess so.
Man, there's so much more. There's like UI stuff. There's a mini map. There's how to navigate menus, how saves work. There are a million things here. If you can think of some gaming literacies that we didn't mention on the show, shoot us a line at tripleclick@maximumfun.org. Okay, let's take a break and we will be back with the second part of our show, One More Thing, where we'll talk about some more video games.
We are so thrilled at your interest in attending Hieronymus Wigginstaff's School for Heroism and Villainy. Wigginstaff's beautiful campus boasts state-of-the-art facilities and instructors with real-world experience. We are also proud to say that our alumni have gone on to be professional heroes and villains in the most renowned kingdoms in the world. But of course, you are not applying to the main school, are you? You're applying for our sidekick and henchperson annex. You will still benefit from the school's amazing campus, and you'll have a lifetime of steady employment. Of course, there's no guarantee how long that lifetime will be.
Join the McElroys as they return to Dungeons & Dragons with the Adventure Zone Graduation, every other Thursday on Maximum Fun, or wherever podcasts are found.
Listen, I'm a hotshot Hollywood movie producer. You have until I finish my glass of kombucha to pitch me your idea. Go.
All right, it's called Who Shot Ya?, a movie podcast that isn't just a bunch of straight white dudes. I'm Iffy Whitey, the new host of the show, and a certified BBN.
BBN?
Buff Black Nerd.
I'm Alonzo Duralde, an elderly gay and legit film critic who wrote a book on Christmas movies.
I'm Drea Clark, a loud white lady from Minnesota.
Each week, we talk about a new movie in theaters and all the important issues going on in the film industry.
It's like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner meets cruising.
And if it helps seal the deal, I can flex my muscles while we record each episode.
I'm sorry, this is a podcast? I'm a movie producer. How did you get in here?
Iffy, quick, start flexing.
Bicep, lats, chest. Who Shot Ya? Dropping every Friday on MaximumFun.org or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And we're back for more Triple Click. The second segment of our show each week is going to be called One More Thing. And the idea is that each of us gets to bring in one thing to talk about. Usually that thing will be a video game, but it can really be anything. The only restriction is there can only be one thing each. So we have to bring in one thing to talk about during One More Thing. Jason, why don't you start us off? What is your thing this week?
Oh, man. Well, today I want to talk about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which, of course, is the PS4 giant extravaganza remake of the 1997 classic role-playing game. And we have talked about the Final Fantasy VII Remake before. We will talk about it again.
And again, and again, and again. For the next decade. They're going to keep making them. This is the only game that matters
We
now.
once promised a spoiler cast that we will deliver upon. But the thing I want to talk about today is padding. And so Ida thought, I don't know if you guys remember this, but the other day, probably a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I predicted, I was like, actually, no, it was at the beginning of the year. It was part of my predictions. I predicted that the Final Fantasy VII Remake would be short and disappointing. And for some reason, I imagine it as like if this is 10 hours and it feels really lean and thin and short, it's going to be really disappointing to people. Then I actually played it, and it turned out to be 40 hours and full of padding. And it got me thinking, like, why did I immediately assume that 8 to 10 hours would feel short and thin and weak and disappointing when in reality, like, I'm more disappointed by a game that feels too long than I am a game that feels too short. It's almost like a podcast. You want it to be a little bit leaner than
Interesting.
That's a good theory about podcasts.
But yeah, it got me thinking, like we're humans are so complicated in so many ways and so contradictory in so many ways. But like, I have these simultaneous thoughts of like, oh, if this was shorter, it wouldn't feel like a full Final Fantasy game. But also, it's got all this padding of like dungeons that are way longer than they need to be and side quests that are just tedious and boring. So I don't know what to do with that. I think maybe the answer that I'm looking for is that it could have been 40 hours and not felt padded at all. But also, maybe I would have actually been really happy if it was like a 20-hour game and it was just nothing but meat and no padding at all.
Yeah, I'm playing through the part very early on right now in the slums where you're kind of doing these side quests that do feel somewhat padded. Go find cats
You're
for this
fighting
little
some
girl.
rats, and then you're fighting some some more rats.
Yep. I sure just fought some rats. I wonder if maybe a good answer is, I'm thinking about The Witcher 3 here as a very long game that can become a ludicrously long game if you do all the stuff that's more patty. But that stuff is very side quest, like beyond side quest even. There's like tiers of side quests in that game. There's the meaty ones. And then there's the thing that's just, if you want to just go kill 5 ghouls over here and kill 5, whatever flying harpies over here, you can just go do that. But it's not presented the way that FF7 Remake kind of presents it, as a little more like in the main quest line. It feels more like you're supposed to do that. So that maybe is one
and
approach.
I'm not even just talking about the side quests. It's also like some of the dungeons you guys haven't gotten to yet just feel a little longer than they need to be. Part of it is just a game design thing. It's like a 40 hours that are just full of nonstop incredible stuff will be great, but it's rare to find a game like that. Like most games that are kind of RPGs, linear style, I'm thinking of like God of War, for example, which is like a 25 hour experience, maybe 30 hours if you do everything, but that's nonstop good stuff. Like there's not a lot of padding in that game. That is a very lean game, and I really like that about it. So yeah, maybe it's just that this game could have been better about that. But then again, like people were already disappointed on the internet, loud and vocal about being disappointed when they saw that like people, myself included, finished the game in under 40 hours, 37 for me. So it's interesting. It's like you have a certain expectation from old school Final Fantasy games.
That's
maybe
what I was gonna say,
and also it's the episodic nature of this.
Also, this one is an adaptation of the first 4 hours of the game. So even the 20-hour version of it is going to have not padding, but some different stuff in it, no matter what.
Well, some of it doesn't feel like padding. Some of it feels like genuinely good stuff. But
genuine
part of it, a large part of this is the whole episodic nature, which just kind of changes the way you think about the game as a whole, because it's just a fraction of the story, and it always is going to be.
Yeah, Jason, I thought of you today because I was having a conversation with a friend who had no idea that this Final Fantasy VII was episodic. He bought the game and he had no idea. And I was like, Jason said this would happen to people, and I didn't think it would happen, but it happened to someone I know.
The look of delight on Jason's face, despite this being a bad thing.
Was your friend...
he was mad. He was mad.
Had he played the original? Was he like a fan of the original?
No, and he had not played the original, and he was like, I would like to play Final Fantasy VII for the first time, please. And like he saw my tweets about Cloud and was like, I'm so excited to get to the stuff you were tweeting about. And I was like, you will not, my friend, because everything I was tweeting about will be in a game that comes out possibly 10 years from now. Like,
man.
Sorry, man.
Funny. The good news is that Final Fantasy VII still exists.
Right. I think that's what he should do. He should just play the original game.
Well, I think a lot of people, first of all, I think anyone who hasn't played the original won't understand the story in this one, so they'll have to go play the original if they want to understand it.
We'll see. We'll see what people say.
Yeah, you'll see.
I'll ask my friend.
When we get there, we'll talk about that later.
This will be something that we talk about in the spoiler cast.
We'll talk about that later.
And for the next 10 years, yes.
The original game, I mentioned the other day on our old podcast that I was replaying the original on my Switch, and one of the great things about that version, about all the new versions, is that you can fast forward, which makes it a lot more palatable today. Yep. So I've been enjoying that, and I'll see how much longer I stick with it, but I've been enjoying what I've been playing so far.
Nice. Maddie, what is your thing for this week?
So I beat a game called Kentucky Route Zero, which is also an episodic game, except, folks, I waited until every single episode is out before I finally got around to playing it, because I don't really like playing one episode of something and then not having something else to play for several years. Although that's a way you can play this game. It started coming out in 2013, and they all came out in January of 2020, and that's when I started playing it. I have recommended playing this game in the past, but after beating it, I still love it, but it is so intense to be playing a game that is this sad right now in this current time. And the last time I was playing Kentucky Route Zero, I told the two of you, like, I'm in a sad state of mind, and so I really want to play this supernatural game about a trucker. He's traveling across the United States in this sort of supernatural version of the world. He's trying to make a delivery, but he can't, and he like meets skeletons, and he gets in a supernatural form of death that he can never escape from, and he's a tragic figure.
And it's an adventure game is the best way to describe it, like a point and click adventure.
It's a point and click adventure game, and it's kind of like poetic. I compared it to the play Our Town at one point because it's very
That's a good
meta.
comparison.
It's like a game about playing a game. You write poems in the game. Like in the last episode, this is not a spoiler, it's just something cool about it. You get to write a poem as you go. Like a character's reciting lines of a poem and you choose each of them as she says the poem. And then the game comes up with multiple lines that will rhyme. And so you can like actually compose her poem as she's performing it. Like that's the kind of stuff you do in this weird, sad game. But it's also, it is a game about capitalism and debt, and it's a supernatural debt, but it's like, there's a real economic crisis right now, and I don't know. I recommend the game because it's cool, but I finished playing it and I just laid in bed and felt really sad for a while, and I don't know why I did that to myself.
Yeah.
I've really been finding like there's such a media thing right now. This could probably be a topic in a future episode of this show.
Right.
Like finding the correct media for the exact mode of like anxiety and panic that you're feeling at this moment, since I think we're all learning that there's like this whole like rainbow of different types of anxiety and stress. It's not just one
and
kind.
Different media that will help you or hurt you with each.
Right. And like
spectrum
sometimes, like
of the
you were
rainbow.
saying, like sometimes you want something happy, sometimes you want something that's sad. We've all been watching The Wire. Like I've been rewatching The Wire. I'm finding that like oddly calming in some ways, even though it's such a dark show.
But it's so real. Yeah.
Yeah, or like Avenue 5, that show, Emily and I have been watching it, which is about people trapped on a cruise ship, essentially.
Yes.
And like, there are definitely times where I'm watching, I'm like, I'm not really having fun because it's like, it's kind of like what you're describing. It's just a little like, it's stressful and everyone, like each week they look shittier, like they're getting, because everyone gets more haggard, and it's a comedy. It's meant to be funny, but I'm like,
it's by the creators of Veep, Jason. You would actually really like it.
I watched
it. Has
it.
That same
I watched the first couple episodes.
It didn't start strong. It's gotten funnier, but it's anyways, not to get into that show. It's more like,
the idea of like, do you want to play something depressing and cathartic, or like escapist and fun to distract you from the world's problems? That's kind of the eternal video game question. And it's almost, it was like encapsulated with Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing coming out on the same day. Like, do you want to play this intense, like fast-paced, like blowing things up game, or do you want to play this idyllic, cheerful, peaceful, happy Animal Village
What's
game?
funny there is that there's also, though, a competing take that flips the whole thing around and says that actually Animal Crossing is this depressing, like capitalist,
is stressful
maze,
and anxiety producing.
Right. And Doom Eternal is just this power fantasy of this ridiculous world where you just get to blow everything up, which I think is really funny that you can see it either way.
100%. But it sounds like in general, Kentucky Route Zero is maybe not the game to play at this moment.
It's super heavy. It definitely wasn't the game for me to play at this moment, even though I loved it and I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad it's a game that exists, which sounds like such a cornball statement to make. Like, I'm glad this game exists. But I do think it rules. And I think playing a game that is a poem and a play.
I don't think that's cornball at all. That's how I felt about Death Stranding. Like, it was not for me, but I'm glad it exists.
Fair enough. But I do think Kentucky Route Zero is for me. And I wish that I were playing it 3 months ago. But unfortunately, I played it now.
Maddie, I really enjoyed watching you not take the bait on Death Stranding right now. You're like, no, we're making a tighter show. I'm not doing this.
I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in debating Death Stranding today. I will do it in the future.
That was not bait. That was me trying to defend your choices, your word choice. I was trying to make you feel better about what you said because it was not cornball.
It did. It made me feel way better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm actually, my thing for this week is sort of related to what you're talking about, Maddie, in that there are 2 scary games that I have played recently during this time of stress and anxiety, and they're scary in different ways, and that works very differently for me, and it's got me kind of thinking about like what kind of fear I like versus what kind that I don't. And it is definitely different in games than in movies, because I do like scary movies, but it's a very different thing. So those 2 games are the Resident Evil 3 remake, the maybe lower profile classic Japanese game remake that recently came out, and Half-Life Alyx, the previously mentioned Valve virtual reality game that also just came out. So Resident Evil 3 is a remake of an old, PS1 game, I guess? Was that Resident Evil 3?
Yeah, it's about a zombie outbreak.
Yes.
You're a government worker just trying to get by in a world gone wild. That's
a fair encapsulation of it. So this is a hyper realistic looking, like almost photorealistic third person shooter. You're fighting against zombies. You're also relentlessly being hunted by Nemesis, who's this giant monster in a trench coat. This game I loved Resident Evil 2 Remake, and Resident Evil 3 Remake is much more of an action game, actually. It's less about atmosphere and like exploring a scary building and having things come after you. It's much more about having that big Nemesis dude show up and you just have to get away from him. I'm finding the game... I'm not loving it in general. I haven't played a whole ton, but I'm just sort of not in love with it the way that I loved the previous one. But part of that is because it's so hardcore and serious and like gory. And while Resident Evil is silly in that certain Resident Evil way,
right,
it's very po-faced also. Like it takes itself very seriously. And I've thought a lot about why Half-Life Alyx, which I loved and is also a pretty scary game. And that game is virtual reality. So you're standing there with these like huge, terrifying spiders crawling around on the ground and you're like shooting them and screaming and trying to get away from them. Zombies are actually coming at you and it's much more intense. But the tone of the game is so much funnier and there's so much more humor, like breaking up the horror. And even like your protagonist, Alex, will like react to horrific things in this way that kind of matches up with how you feel. That it's really got me thinking just sort of about how tone works in horror and like the kind of horror tone that I like or don't like. I'm curious to ask the two of you if you like horror at all. Maddie, do you like horror movies?
I like horror
games?
movies. I can really struggle with horror games, though I did like the original Resident Evils. They were so hard for me to play. It's also interesting to me, because you're playing the remakes, which I haven't played, but I played the originals, so we're like two halves of a really weird coin.
Right. Between us, we've got it all. We've got it all figured out.
It's like I'm 1,000 years old, and I'm talking to you from the past. So the original Resident Evils, they were actually funny, but for the wrong reasons, where there were like strange translations of those games, which is like where the iconic Jill sandwich line where Barry Burton like says to Jill like you wouldn't want to become a Jill sandwich.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
It's like why everyone quotes it is because it's like Barrett's pizza line in FF7 where you're just like, what? No one would say this. Like we're in a serious situation where you're all about to be killed. You're joking around about sandwiches. And the games like had that strange stilted pauses between people talking that would make them feel funny. And I feel like that reduced more and more, like past Resident Evil 4 of the original ones, pre-remakes, they get more and more self-serious and more like a horror movie where nothing all that funny happens. And I think to their detriment. And I haven't played the remakes yet, but based on what you're describing, I feel like they would be too stressful for me because part of what makes a horror movie work or a horror game work is like that tension break where something funny can happen and you have that exhale, that catharsis of like, oh, phew, it was just the cat or whatever, whatever example.
That's very true. And
you need that.
It works okay. But yeah, like I'm thinking of specifically actually the opening hours of Resident Evil 7, which are just like fucking scary. Like that's just like really scary. And that game is pretty relentless and doesn't have, those moments of comedy. There's no like really a comic relief character.
I mean, you can try to make it funny. Like you could try to act like a guy trying to kill you with an axe is funny. If you do it enough times, you can desensitize yourself to it.
One of the few horror games that I have actually played and enjoyed is Until Dawn, which takes that, is full of that humor that you're talking about in a campy way, but in an awesome way. I'm curious. I find Resident Evil to be a curious series because I actually really enjoyed Resident Evil 4. In fact, I loved Resident Evil 4, but that doesn't really feel like a horror game. It's more of like a third person, like action adventure, like shooting cool stuff and resource management type game. There are a few jump scares here and there, I guess, but
I'd say that Resident Evil 3 feels closer to that on the sort of action spectrum. Like it's less of the sort of survival, fear thing. And this is all just about taste and like what you're in the mood for, right? It's not even, I'm not even saying that the games don't work as well or do work as well. I was just surprised to find myself playing a VR game with amazing production values and zombies coming at me, and yet feeling less stressed out by it than I did by the screen-based game with the zombies, just because of the tone of the game. The one, it's just so much more oppressive and kind of intense, and I'm like not in a place where I really wanted to feel that.
They should have written some jokes for Nemesis. I think that guy has a lot of potential. He should be coming in and being like, knock knock. I don't know.
He kicks down the wall. Oh yeah,
because he doesn't knock. The joke is that he just enters rooms without knocking. Is that
he's like Kramer on Seinfeld. He just bursts in the room and
maybe if you mod the game so that it is Kramer, would that be anything?
Like slap bass solo plays every time Nemesis shows up.
I'm sure there's a mod somewhere that makes him into Thomas the Tank Engine.
There are sexy mods for Mr. X. You could consider those.
Yes, the mods on this game do help. That is certainly true. At any rate, I think that's it for this episode. I think we are out of time, so we are going to wrap up our debut episode of Triple Click. We thank you all so much for listening, and we're very excited for more episodes in the future. Maddy and Jason, I'll talk to you both next week.
See you next time.
Bye.
Triple Click is produced by Jason Schreier, Maddy Myers, and me, Kirk Hamilton. I edit and mix the show and also wrote our theme music. Our show art is by Tom DJ. Triple Click is a proud member of the Maximum Fun Podcast Network, and if you like our show, we hope you'll head over to MaximumFun.org/join and consider becoming a member. Doing so helps support us and gets you access to an exclusive Triple Click episode each month. Find us online at tripleclickpodcast.com, on Twitter at tripleclickpod, and send email to tripleclick@maximumfun.org. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned. Audience supported.